Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today's video is not going to be a review of the Joker, but the importance that the Joker has on all of us and what it symbolizes as a movie and the nuances within the movie. Now, going into this movie, when I first watched the trailers, I watched the trailer without reading the description. I didn't read any of the comments. All I got feedback on was that this movie is the new Joker movie. And so watching it, I had mixed feelings about it because I had no idea what I was really looking at. I didn't realize at the time that it was a character study, and I kind of judged it harshly. And it took me watching the trailer a few times and then eventually reading the comments to realize what I was watching. And that's what a lot of the movie is based on for the character of Arthur Fleck, where he is being judged by society and put down and made to feel like less of a person. In the movie, he, in multiple different situations, is trying to make himself feel like a big person, because society, in the chaoticness and the near anarchy that Gotham has become in the movie, is making him where he is dealing with mental illness. He is taking care of his adopted mother, so in a way he is being the parent. He has dealt with abuse all of his life, and they are struggling financially. He doesn't even have a solid career, and he's made to feel like such a small person. And in many different small ways, he tries to make himself feel like a bigger person. And in the end, they show the shot from the floor as he's walking past the camera, and that is his acceptance that he actually is finally a big person. The whole movie wraps around the idea of Arthur just wanting to fit in. He understands that he is different, but that doesn't mean that he isn't human. And that, I think, is where the biggest problem is for him, and the only fault that he really has is that he's human, wanting to be accepted by those around him, because in multiple different scenes he's beaten, he's abused, and in ways he's made to feel bad, and he makes himself feel terrible. I mean, even when he's taking care of his mother, his adopted mother, he decides to let her eat and chooses not to eat himself, putting the importance on someone else, whereas he would want somebody to finally make him feel important, which is what his love interest throughout the movie was doing, making him feel important, when at the end you realize that that entire relationship was a delusion. And even when it came to his colors for his suit, the maroon with the orange, if you really watch the movie, when he steals the records for his adopted mother, when he runs down the stairwell, the walls are orange, and the floor and the pipes are that maroon color in Arkham. That's where he feels comfortable. That's where he feels like he really is himself. And I mean, in the movie, he tries to do crimes that would put him back into there, but they fail. So he is, in a way, trying to just go to where he feels like he's comfortable and where he's at home. Even doing the stand-up and watching the performances and just being around people, he laughs at the wrong time, but he's at least trying. And he just wants to fit in with everybody else. And that is kind of a play onto how we in society are towards others, where we don't know what the person walking next to us or walking past us, their story is. We don't know what they're dealing with internally. We don't know their past. We don't understand anything other than what we ourselves are dealing with. And it's not to say that we need to just make conversation and say hi to every single person, but to at least give respect for others. And if you interact with somebody, just be a better person and be kind to them. because you don't know what they're dealing with on the inside. And the whole movie shows what can happen. I think that's one of the things that scares people about this movie. And even for me, was a little bit uncomfortable to watch, but I still absolutely love this movie. I would be able to say that this is probably the best movie of the entire year. Hands down, performance-wise, Joaquin Phoenix just absolutely just performed probably his best work. And the cinematography of the movie is amazing. The locations fit perfectly. The little nuances, like the staircase, where throughout the movie he's hunched over with his head into his chest a little bit, walking up the stairs with a limp. And that's to show that he's being beaten down by society. And at the end, you know, the colors change. He's now walking down the stairwell as the Joker, free of the idea that he no longer feels like he doesn't exist, that he's not real, that he is finally someone that matters. And that's one of the things that really struck me with this movie, is just how much he wanted to fit in. And you see the damage that he has physically and mentally from his childhood, where his adopted mother's boyfriend would beat him. And even in the first scene when he's getting beaten by the kids, he's not fighting back. He is covering his groin and his neck, because those are the most vulnerable areas of the body. He is just pretty much going to the mentality of just protect what's important and it'll be over with soon. That's the mentality of someone who's been horribly abused, not just physically but mentally, because they now expect it. They don't know better than that. And for him, he's dealt with that his whole life. Even when the injuries and the wounds that he gets are gone, he still walks with a limp, because he's dealt with that his whole life, and he is made to carry that. Just like when he's walking up the stairs, that's his way of carrying his burdens, carrying his pain, carrying his awareness that he, again, is different. But all he's trying to do is fit in. And that really plays into how society is these days, where so many people, because of social media, that's a big factor. It's not the factor, but it's a big factor. People put on an act for everybody else to see what they feel and what they want to be a reality, and to make people think that they have the best life, which we all want to have an amazing life. But in the end, it's social media. You don't live in that world all the time. And just like with Arthur Fleck, a lot of this movie was in his head. Even the final scene is a play onto making you question as an audience member, did all of that actually happen? So taking it to social media today, a lot of people put on a facade and they try to actually live in that world. They live through a camera. They don't even see the world through their own eyes. They live solely through looking at a screen, looking through their phone, being on the computer all the time, and just idolizing others and just wanting to be a part of that life, to the point that they are doing everything they can to mimic what they see, to have that actually be their life. Arthur Fleck does the same thing. He, in a way, despite that he's a clown, he is a mimic in this movie. He mimics how people treat him when he interacts with them. When his love interest is leaning on the door, he's leaning on the door. When Murray is talking to him and overpronouncing words, he's overpronouncing words, doing it back to him. And when he is trying to be comfortable, he's trying to just give everybody the same thing back that he gets, as far as just posture of tone, and he just wants to be accepted. He's trying to be comfortable the entire movie. And that's the thing that really is scary, is that this movie is all about realism. This whole movie is an example of what can happen to somebody. Because we as a society, when we see someone that struggles, when we see somebody that is not doing very well, mentally, physically, financially, whatever the case may be, especially if you see someone on the street, you see a bum, more often than not, you're going to walk right past them. You're not going to look at them. You're not going to give them a second thought, because you're going to think, oh, well, they're just a bum. Probably they're just a junkie, when that's not always the case. They could have a backstory that led them there that was incredibly tragic, just like in this movie. He has had a very, very difficult, if not hellish, upbringing. He's been abused physically and mentally. And for him, being on the Murray Show, that was one of the only times in the movie you actually see him happy and showing a real, genuine laugh. Because he has multiple laughs during the movie. But seeing himself perform stand-up before being criticized is what made him happy, because he felt that he was actually being recognized. He felt that he was actually worth something, because, again, the last scene kind of plays into the idea that maybe all of this is just made up in his head, because he doesn't have any scars. He doesn't have any bruises. He doesn't have any injuries of any kind. He's in a straitjacket. And even his last line plays into the idea that maybe we just don't get it. Maybe we just don't see it. And we don't understand. It's a play on the idea that people with mental illness, because nowadays we're speaking a lot on it. Because before, just like with any other medical diagnosis, before we only had a few different diseases, so it was either one of the A, B, C, D, or we just don't know. Now we can actually diagnose people with, this is what you have, this is what you have, this is what you have, and it all umbrellas under mental illness. And the idea that we are now speaking greatly upon it is something that it's not new to us, it's just new to speak on. People have been dealing with so many different things mentally to where we didn't know what was going on, but now we can say definitively, this is what we have. This is what we are dealing with. And for him, it was a real travesty to have his social worker say that they're no longer funding him and his medication is getting cut off. And in a way, he starts to go into an even greater downward spiral. But he's told by his adopted mother to put on a happy face, to front for everybody else, and to make it seem like nothing is wrong. And that's why, too, when we see celebrities that you would think don't have anything going wrong, and eventually something tragic happens to them, it's breaking news. But it happens all over the world. It happens to so many people that aren't famous. And that's what this whole movie is about, is not speaking to the higher class, but to the middle and the lower, to really just understand that everybody is fighting their own battles. Everybody is unfortunately judging others instead of possibly putting out that helping hand of, is everything okay? Is there anything wrong? How are you doing? And it really speaks more volume of the importance of this movie, aside from the idea that it is a character study of the Joker, where he didn't grow up with a great upbringing. He almost had to fight for his life to get to this point. And it's a movie that it doesn't make you feel sympathetic to his actions that he took, but it makes you feel very relatable in ways to who he is as Arthur Fleck, because you're not going to feel bad for him when he becomes the Joker. Those are two different identities. But as Arthur Fleck dealing with everything and still just trying to get by day, it makes you feel terrible for him. And that's what the movie was wanting. It was wanting to incite that kind of emotion, because it's like him having one bad day too many, of just that one little extra thing that made him snap, that the straw that broke the camel's back. And eventually he snaps because of it, and then you no longer feel sympathetic towards him, because he's not Arthur Fleck anymore. He is the Joker. And that is incredibly important to take away, not just as a movie, but just as a lesson in life for how we treat others. Because this is, despite that this, I believe, is an Oscar-worthy movie, but the Academy is not going to give it to Joaquin Phoenix because of the controversy that this movie has created. It's too real for a lot of people, and that's what scares people. It makes it very hard to watch. Even for me, it was hard to watch because of how real it was, but I know that overall, this film is just beautiful. It is amazing work. From the music, the colors, to, again, the scenes where they're shot at, to the acting, to the nuances, to the comics, to the little hints of who he really is, beyond just what you see on screen, the little tells of his past, how he's thinking, and just his body language. Everything together is just amazing body of work. And I hope that this universe continues, not more possibly into creating Batman in this universe, because in his mind he saw the death of Bruce Wayne's parents, but he physically wasn't there, but he showed it to you as if he was. So this also again plays into the idea that he's living in a false reality, much like a lot of people on social media are, and they want to live in that. And he's wanting to live in that because that's where his safe area is. But he unfortunately has to deal with the problems of today and the problems that society has put upon him, because people just don't want to accept him. They want to just keep tearing him down. When he's already at his lowest point, they want to just keep tearing him down. And that's why I think this movie is very important to really understand just how important this message is. And hopefully people really watch it with the proper look of being able to see the message behind the face paint. And that's what I wanted to talk about. And I hope that for any of you guys that have seen it and didn't pick up on certain little things, that I hope that you're able to gain something from this. And anybody that hasn't seen this movie, please go watch it. This is an amazing body of work, and you will definitely appreciate this movie for what it is. Just keep an open mind, keep an open heart, and just, again, don't be thinking judgmentally upon others negatively. Just always have an open mind. You don't know what anybody else is going through, and just really see the movie for what it is, so you can see the world around you for what it really is.